know and love come to you like the sound of equipment being thrown from a moving van, the sound of dead cell phones and oil rigs, the sound of empty parking lots and school buses. They love to live and live to love. Ladies and gentlemen, Jesus Children of America, the White Stripes.
Hello. Come on in. The water's great. My name is Ryan Schaap, and this is the hardest podcast a podcast. The day has finally come where Jack White and I are pitted against one another, purely in terms of sports fandom, as his no-good Detroit Tigers are playing my beloved Seattle Mariners in the American League Divisional Series. All loyalty to Mr. White goes out the window in this series. I hope that man suffers. I hope he suffers the agony of defeat. Well, maybe I don't really wish that on him. That's kind of mean. I just don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about Jack White getting hurt by the Detroit Tigers. They hurt a lot of people. Very good episode coming up this week. My friend John Cullen is on the show, and we've had a couple of these. Actually, this might be the first true, let's call it a contrarian episode. John and I don't necessarily share the same viewpoints on the White Stripes. So a spirited one, but I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing this episode and having this conversation, and I hope you enjoy it and take something from it. So with this being a bit of a longer episode, I'm gonna keep this intro nice and tight. So if you're here, you're listening for the first time, you're wondering what the hell's going on, we go through the White Stripes' entire music catalog, one song at a time, one song per episode, and we dissect it, we cover it top to bottom, we have a good conversation about what resonates with us, and we're doing this for every single song in their catalog that they release, with the exception of 3 songs, which I have reserved as mystery songs. Now, Ryan, you're probably asking, what's the deal with these mystery songs? The goal of this show is to have Jack White on here not once, not twice, but thrice to talk about songs. And he'll only talk about those mystery songs. Well, we hope he's on the show, but through the process of elimination, you join this ride and you listen each week, and you see what episodes we cover, and slowly the list gets shorter and shorter of what songs have we put aside for Mr. White. So that's how we do things around here. Thanks for checking us out. And if you are a repeat customer, you know the drill. And that is tell a friend, tell 7 friends, don't be selfish, and don't eat shellfish if you're allergic. And this is a podcast, so naturally I'm going to say rate and review us on your podcast platform of choice, and spread the word. And leave a comment on Spotify. I haven't seen one there in a bit. So the song this week is Little Acorns. We are officially halfway through the White Stripes Little catalog. As you know, we have done Little Room, we've done Little Cream Soda, and we've just done Little Acorns, which means little people, little ghost, and little bird remain on the list of little songs. Finally, before we get into Little Acorns, if you want to support this show monetarily, financially, you can do that. You can go over to buymeacoffee.com/hardestpodtopod. That address again is buymeacoffee.com/hardestpodtopod. And you can kick a couple of bucks our way to tell us that, hey, you like what we're doing. So right now, it is time for our call to action. I want you to hit pause on this episode. I want you to go to your streaming platform of choice, and I want you to go to Elephant and find Little Acorns. And when you hear the sultry tones of broadcasting legend Mort, you know you're in the right place. So hit pause on this, go listen to Little Acorns so it's fresh in your mind, because it was fresh in my mind and in John's mind before our conversation. Here we go. Here's John, and here's Little Acorns. Our Our guest this week is a tremendous comedian and a fantastic podcaster. He is the host of Block Party. He is the host of the P.O.D. Kast, that's Kast with a K, a podcast about nu metal. And he's also the host of What Is a Jeopardy podcast. He's also an integral voice within curling coverage in our country. He just wrote a book about curling, eloquently titled Curling Rocks! Which is available October 14th. He is John Cullen.
Hey, I'm really good. I'm really good. We were just talking about before we got on air here about the fact that I got the first physical copies of my book that I could hold in my hand. As you said, comes out a couple weeks from now as we're recording this, but available for pre-order in Canada wherever you get your books. And yes, very, very strange but very cool feeling to hold the book in my hand. So I'm doing well. That's my long way of answering that I am doing well, man.
I did some depths of sleuthing and trying to find a connection to the White Stripes and curling. There is none.
Really?
They're more of a bowling folk.
Okay.
They're bowling enthusiasts. There's a lot of Canadian connections to the White Stripes, with the entire cross-country tour.
Yeah, I was going to say they didn't hit a curling club on the every province and territory tour they did.
They didn't, and I thought they would have. The closest, they hit a bowling alley.
Okay.
They played a youth rec center in Burnaby, but sadly no curling. And I know some pals that have seen some odd shows at curling clubs, but the White Stripes have never.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up because for a while, I don't think anymore. But for a decent, I would say like a decade, Victoria Curling Club was like the all ages venue in Victoria. So I know Deftones played there.
Wow.
I know which is crazy, right? Because when when you in the summertime you can't keep ice, it's too expensive and it's also very hard to maintain. So the ice isn't very good anyway. There's kind of no point. So they melt the ice in the summer, and then most curling clubs do something because you can't just leave your building closed. Now it's very popular to do pickleball. They'll turn the curling floor into pickleball courts. But, different curling clubs have different strategies. And for a while, Victoria Curling Clubs was having shows there. It's been a long time since they've done it. Deftones is the one that sticks out that I know absolutely 100% they played a show there. I can't tell you another band that played there, but I know in that screamo emo era, a lot of those bands played the Victoria Curling Club, which is hilarious to think about.
A good buddy of mine saw Matt Good play at the Victoria Curling Club.
There you go.
And is there anything more John Cullen than the Deftones playing a curling club?
No, I should have gone over there and gone just for the story. I mean, they played Vancouver on the same tour, and I went to that show. But yes, I absolutely should have seen Deftones in the Victoria Curling Club, especially because of course, the curling world is small. I have friends who work there. So they had to be there, and they definitely were very confused as to what was going on when Deftones were there. I think from both a music and audience perspective, like the type of people who would go to a Deftones show, I think they were very surprised. And I definitely got some you like those guys? And I'm like, they're my favorite band. And they were like, oh, okay. I think I affected my relationship with some people by telling them that I was stoked that they maybe would have gotten to meet and or just see the Deftones at the Victoria Curling Club.
One of their anvil cases scuffed up the rocks. I can't stand these guys.
Yeah, exactly. The club's never been the same since.
You mentioned emo and all that, and those types of hardcore bands in the 2000s. We're discussing Little Acorns this week, a track off of 2003's Elephant, which would have been recorded in November 2001, April 2002. My question to you, based on the intro of this song, did Jack White create the Midwest emo song intro?
Yes, that was exactly what I thought. I don't know if he created it because I think I think there were Midwest emo bands doing it before then, I want to say. Like, when did American Football's first album come out? I want to say it was before 2003, but I could be wrong. They were kind of I feel like they're the ones that people sort of think of as the pioneers of that. Yeah, their first album came out in 1999. So I don't know that that the White Stripes came up with it. Are they like, is this the best selling album that has a Midwest emo intro? Probably. But yes, that was the first thing I thought when I put this song on for, listening to it for this show. I thought, oh, I didn't know the White Stripes went Midwest emo. I love that. I don't know if you've seen that Instagram account, the guy who, he just puts various things, sets various, whatever things to Midwest emo, like the Bobby Valentine arguing with the umpire. That's probably my favorite one.
Oh, it is a perfect video.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
So let's talk about it. You listen to this song once, maybe twice for this
Three
interview.
times.
3 times, as the White Stripes would request, a band associated exclusively with the number 3. You turn it on. What comes to mind as you hear legendary Detroit newscaster Mort Krim give you some life advice in dealing with problems and adversity?
Yeah. So, I mean, aside from the obvious that we've already talked about, literally when I turned it on, I thought about Midwest emo. That was my very first thought for sure. And then, I thought as that was going on, I guess I wasn't sure the direction the song was going, because I know, I'm not a White Stripes guy really, which I assume we'll get into at some point, but I've obviously heard tons of their songs, and I know that they have a very distinctive and unique catalog. Like, I guess what I would say is, you could tell me any song was the White Stripes and I would believe you. Like, they just have, they genre hop, and they have a lot of different influences, and their sound kind of changes from album to album, at least from the songs I've heard. So my first thought was, is this the whole song? Like, is the whole song just kind of like an instrumental playing behind Mort Krim? So then I think it's right around exactly the 1 minute mark where it turns into what you would think of as the rest of the song. There's another 3 minutes where we have no Mort Krim and we're into the song. And I think I was sort of pleasantly surprised by that, because I thought, oh no, is this just going to be an instrumental over top of a news broadcast? But
we got to talk about this.
What the hell? What is Ryan making me do here? But no, I think, I think those were my first thoughts was, oh no, is this going to be the whole song? Oh, good. It's not the whole song.
So the whole song was created around that intro, and it was complete coincidence, happenstance, whatever you want to say. But in an interview, Jack White said his brother works at a radio commercial distribution place and had been bringing him, what are those? 3-in, whatever the reel-to-reel tapes for recording is. And he kept giving him these old tapes to record on, and he was recording a piano melody, and when he played it back, there was this random guy speaking on the other track. Totally accidental. He then based the song around that story. So that's anchorman Mort Krim in Detroit. And, he's giving this like sage advice about dealing with sadness and problems, like overcoming you, like in tough times in your life. And he describes this woman, Janet, who is going through a divorce and losing her job and her father, and like, how can she get through this? So he wrote an entire song around it. And that's where the lyrics come from. They take it to Mort Krim, and they were suspecting that he would be a bit of a dick about it, and he was totally cool, and he actually really liked it, and there was no issues. So completely coincidental recording accident turns into a song, turns into a pretty good song. And in that, we talk about White Stripes genre hopping, or the White Stripes having this like, insane kind of catalog or, all encompassing approach to music. Like, they're pretty ramshackle and, outside the box when it comes to, recording songs. This is another like perfect example of that. It's, here's an accident. Well, let's see what we can do around that.
Yeah, I mean, this was also me learning that Mort Krim is a real guy. Because if you are a fan of Tim Robinson's work and you've watched The Detroiters, Mort Krim is sort of like a character in that show. His news reports are often playing at the bar they go to, their sort of local haunt. He ends up being like the focal point of one of the episodes. And so I just always thought he was a character because his name is Mort Krim. I mean, it sounds like a name that Tim Robinson would have made up. So this was me learning that Mort Krim was a real guy, which I was very pleasant. Sorry, my XLR is finicky. It was very pleasant surprise to find out, I guess, that Mort Krim is not only a real guy, but I guess like a Detroit legend because, he shows up in the Detroiters and then shows up here on a White Stripes track. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm always like, I've always been a guy that likes this sort of studio trickery or whatever, like sometimes when bands will leave in like them talking to the producer before they start recording a song or whatever. Like I've always been kind of a fan of that sort of ambient studio inclusion. So I think knowing that this came out of like a studio, sort of a Bob Ross happy accident, I think that's cool and adds something to this intro, which I otherwise would have said, oh my God, here's the White Stripes ripping off Midwest emo.
When you hear it, you're like, oh, okay, he's found this old dusty, I don't know. The fact that it's not premeditated or not like, I don't know, just like, hey, we've found this to make, we got a half-ass song. We got to make it a little more unique or a little more cool. Let's pop this on at the beginning. Like, yeah, that's you can kind of spot that a mile away. And I think that without that context, you kind of think that about this, like, oh, you're kind of padding the stats here, but it makes it just so special and so unique. And you mentioned Mort Krim. Jack also said he's about 170 years old and sits across from Carmen Harlan. And he says, talking about how Detroit ain't so bad, then tells us about the 5-year-old girl that got caught in the middle of a gang-related shootout.
That's really good. That's not so bad here. That used to be a 3-year-old girl. Now she's 5. City's getting better all the time.
One more wild thing about Mort Krim. Will Ferrell said he was the main inspiration for Ron Burgundy.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So that's really, I mean, this is all coming together here. Yeah. Mort Krim, through no fault of his own, has become like a very famous guy in the circles of very famous people. So, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Here's one more famous person. In September 2023, he narrated a teaser video promoting Olivia Rodrigo's album Guts.
Wow. Okay. So this is Olivia Rodrigo from Detroit? No. I feel like no. I'm looking it up right now, but no, she's from California. Okay, so for her, it is probably maybe because of the White Stripes or because of the Detroiters. I mean, she does seem to have this fascination with that era of music, as far as she brought out Weezer to play Buddy Holly. She's brought out Avril Lavigne to sing Complicated, etc. Maybe this is she got familiar with Mort Krim through these other famous people, and that's really funny. I didn't even know that. Because I'm a Rodrigo guy. I'm a Rodrigo guy.
I was very excited when I was looking up some stuff on Mort Krim last night. I'm gonna keep that one to myself for the reaction. I'm not gonna tell John about it.
That was great. I love it.
All right. So what's your thoughts on the advice Mort Krim is giving us?
Okay. So I mean, I guess like I don't know. like I get at first I don't think I was thinking of it as advice. Like I don't even think I was listening to what he was saying at
Yeah.
first, you know. You're just kind of like, "Oh, this is part of the song."
Old man rambling.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm reading it now, and I guess so. Yeah, so the advice I guess is that you know, it's sort of a like don't sweat the small stuff, but also like your big problems aren't actually like as big as you think they are, and they're an easier burden to carry if you break them down into a number of smaller problems, I guess, is the advice that's being given here. And I guess it's good advice. I mean, I don't know. I'm just like, this is gonna sound crazy, okay? And I know some of your listeners are gonna get really pissed off when I say this, but like I'm just sort of a pretty worry-free guy. Like I don't think of like I'm trying to think of like what's the biggest problem I've ever had, and did it like consume my life? And I just don't know if I've ever had a problem that big.
If only your parents got divorced when you were 12, like a normal kid.
That's
then
what I'm
you'd have
saying.
Some real
like
anxiety.
I've been lucky. Like my parents are still together. I'm in a very happy marriage. I'm a straight white guy. Like things have been pretty good for me. But no, I mean, I do think ultimately that is, you know, of course I know lots of people who have been through lots of struggles. And I think that is ultimately like fairly effective advice. It's kind of a, it's also similar to like a time heals all wounds type of advice.
Yeah.
Like the longer you live with a problem, the smaller it's going to get anyway. So could we not shrink it earlier? Could we not find a way for it to be, you know, dealt with earlier? And so, yeah, I mean, I think I think it's okay advice. I don't know. What do you think? It sounds like you've had more problems than me.
John, I don't know how much time we got in this recording, but I got a lot of problems. I'm gonna give a little bit of a peek behind the curtain here. It was Tuesday or Wednesday morning. I was a little stressed about some things at work. I had some things, some personal projects to work on and get out. And one of them was reaching out to you about a song to do.
Okay.
And I was originally, because you're not the biggest White Stripes guy, in my mind, I'm like, we'll do Hardest Button to Button because it's got probably their best video. It's a big song. There's lots to talk about. And then I'm driving to work and I'm sitting in traffic and I just do music on shuffle on my phone. And like the third song in is Little Acorns. And I start listening to Mort Krim. And I've never done this before. And I'm like, okay, what are the things I'm worried about? Okay, the video thing I got to shoot at work. That's no big deal because it's, I just need to film them. They're the ones that they are the information experts. They are okay. And then what about Cullen? Fuck, this song kind of scratches some itches, and it's a little heavier song. He'll like that. It's a little more unique.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I got that done, and I started putting my problems into
there
little
you go,
piles.
like Little Acorns. I mean, don't waste Hardest Button to Button on me. I mean, it's good to give me a deep cut. You don't want to waste one of the big boys on a guy who doesn't even really like the White Stripes. So. This
is a published author. Come on, he's an accomplished man. He's a learned man.
So what is it to you? And I am genuinely curious, and this is not me being patronizing. Like, what is it about Jack White and this music that you connected with? Because right from the beginning, I thought, oh, this is fairly annoying and rather gimmicky. But obviously, I'm assuming you don't think that. So, like, how did White Stripes hit you in the beginning, like when you first found them? Because obviously they're your favorite band and you know so much about them. Like, what was the original appeal to you?
I think the original appeal to me was a not stripped down but straightforward approach to kind of garage rock and punk. I liked the heavy guitars. I liked a lot of people might not like his higher pitch voice, and it just stood out to me.
I like
And
his voice. I think he's a great singer.
okay, cool. That's interesting. Because a lot of people are like, oh, he sings too high.
That doesn't bother me.
And then with Meg, I don't know, maybe as somebody that was trying, I got into them when I was trying to learn how to play guitar. And it's like, I would, I was in a guitar class in high school, and there would be people that were very good at it. It came natural to them. And I was thinking like, well, I'm doing my best. And like, I like what I'm doing. I like how I'm playing it. I like what I play. And it doesn't like, there's no right or wrong, and there's good and there's better and there's, like that. But so for her approach to drumming, it never really like, I would kind of think of how I would play the drums. I'm like, yeah, it's good enough for me. Like what, like
Right.
it serves the song, it stands out. And, and I like, and then once you learn more about them, like the original question you asked is what stood out to me is it's the authenticity. These are, I don't like, they have a gimmick. They have a visual gimmick that they've been upfront about. And Jack said, like, when you are making music, it is so hard to get people to actually listen to your music. And like, let alone listen to it to feel something. So it's like, you have to think about the presentation. And that's kind of where the White Stripes came from. It's like, we started this band because we want to play the music that nobody else wants to play. They want, the original desire of the band was to play like old kind of blues music. Jack also really liked the limitations that a 2-person band produced. So like, in order to kind of like enhance and or mask what those limitations were, they kind of created the color scheme and created the aesthetic look. Yeah, it came on out of thin air. I never would have thought of this song for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a little fucking serendipitous moment, just like Jack did, playing that piano riff on over the reel-to-reel tape. Let's talk about the song. Let's talk about 1 minute in. This is it's a heavy, loud guitar riff. He's got his electro harmonics, Big Muff Pie blaring. The song kind of goes extremely loud to extremely quiet. And he's given Mort's advice, and I would say it's all quite good except for the last one. What are your thoughts on the musical portion of this song?
I like the riff. I mean, so we've danced around that I don't love the White Stripes. And this is not, I guess this is overall not a controversial take. But I just, Meg White's drumming pisses me the fuck off. And I am a drummer. I've been drumming since I was 11. I've played in multiple bands, and I get what they're doing, but it pisses me off. And this song is like everything that I find annoying about Meg White's drumming on this song. Just like the sort of, it's like completely incongruous with the guitar riff. It's like deliberately a half step behind the riff. It's deliberately simple. It's messy. And I get that for some people that's a feature and not a bug, but for me, that shit is bugging up my whole works. It's like my computer's got a big time virus. I love the riff. I think the riff is like, I liked the riff more than I was expecting, because I don't also love all the White Stripes riffs. It's not like, oh, I really love all their guitar work, if only the drums were better. No, I also find the guitar work annoying at times, but this, I did enjoy this riff like more than I thought I would. But once it gets to that chorus and Meg starts doing those like dropout drums where she's like, and I hate the way the cymbals are produced. Like it's sounds like deliberately trashy. It's like they're hitting you in the face with like, maybe she doesn't even know how to play the drums. And that's just like, I find it very grating. And so that's kind of like really my whole thought about the song. I think the riff is good. I think the lyrics are good. Jack has a way of really matching up his melodies with some like complicated guitar or like interesting guitar work.
Absolutely.
And he does it here, I think, to good effect. But yeah, the drums piss me the hell off, dude.
I knowing your mindset, knowing your drumming background, I really intently listened to Meg's playing on this, and 255 into the song where it's out of time slightly.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I'd never heard that before. Now a lot of White Stripes songs are they're not John 5, and they didn't bring the metronome with them. They are a little sloppy, and it's blues, it's punk rock, that's fine as long as it all kind of stays in the lanes. This is one of the sloppier songs on Elephant. Elephant is considered a rather like polished album. The big songs off it are, Seven Nation Army and Hardest Button to Button. Those are,
two great songs. Two great songs.
Yeah, and they are quite simplistic. Do you know much about how the White Stripes would write and record and produce their albums?
No, I've deliberately learned nothing about them, because the more I learn about them, the more it pisses me off. So I purposely have learned nothing about them. But like, yeah, so here's what I would say. Like, I think this is what annoys me about the White Stripes. So the way you framed it was, it's a little sloppy, it's a little bluesy, it's whatever. But I would argue, and I'm almost 100% sure I'm right, and I'm not arguing against you, because I think you will agree with what I'm about to say.
Sure.
But it's sloppy on purpose. And that is what pisses me off. Like, it's one thing to say, we record live off the floor and it gets a little bit sloppy sometimes. There's no way this is not by design, in my opinion. You only have two people in the band. Even if you're recording live off the floor, if Meg is that far behind the riff, then she really is like the worst drummer in the world. And I don't think she is. I just don't think she is. So to me, that's part of what pisses me off, is that they're making it sloppy on purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I have less than zero time for that. And maybe I'm just not that imaginative. Maybe that's great and cool, but I know nothing about how they record anything. You can fill me in. We'll see if it changes my mind, but my guess is it won't. And it'll actually piss me off more actively.
That's fair. And no,
you're like, what do I even say to this guy? I love this band so much. I have a whole podcast about them.
Well, I feel you and I are quite type A individuals. There is,
Sure.
and when it comes to approaching the drum, if you think about the most, not the best, or, the most recognizable or the most celebrated, like, everybody loves and appreciates Ringo Starr because he was a perfect, he kept perfect time, and he did he was in the pocket. He did what was best for the song. If you asked me my thoughts on like the late Neil Peart, I'm like, okay, like, yeah, congrats on having every drum from Long and McQuaid. Like, I know I don't hear shit when you on a Rush song. I hear Geddy Lee, and I hear whatever he's playing on the bass and whatever he's playing at his feet, or Alex Lifeson. Like, if
for the
you
record,
ask me,
I don't like that drumming either.
No,
like, I think Neil Peart is a technical wizard, but I don't like that style of drumming. You can be busy, but you have to be serving the song. Stuart Copeland is the best at that.
Totally
the best ever, where he's so busy, but it's always in service of the song. Neil Peart is busy for the sake of being busy, and I don't like that drumming either. Just for the record.
He wrote all the lyrics. That's the most impressive thing about Neil Peart, is he's the fucking songwriter. You ask me, I love Van Halen, but Alex Van Halen is just cymbals. It's like, if you played an isolated drum track, you would and it was all cymbals. You're like, I bet you that's Van Halen. The White Stripes only demoed one album beforehand, and that was their last album, and that was Icky Thump. They would go in the studio. They were in the studio at Toe Rag in London for this album. They were in the studio for 2 weeks, And basically their process is Jack White always said that the White Stripes were covering Jack White songs. So he comes into the studio and he's like, I have this riff, I have this piano track, I have this lyric, and they come up with it. So they are sloppy on purpose in that they like, do we need to redo it? Nah, it's fine. So I'll give you that it can be sloppy on purpose because they have an opportunity to fix it and they choose not to. And that's kind of Jack White's mentality, his mantra, his approach to art is, there's more, as soon as you began trying to perfect it, more and more things that are special about it are stripped away. So I appreciate that about him. So, this song is, you could probably get a second or third take at Little Acorns, and I don't think that you would have lost too much of it. But when I listened to Meg playing on it, especially in those choruses where she's just trying to follow along, like Jack had these insane kind of approaches to playing, whether that was live or in the studio. And like Meg is there with like eagle eyes, doing everything that she can to follow along with what he's doing. She's watching body language. She's, doing her best to follow his strumming because he's so unorthodox in his approach. So when I hear the sloppy on purpose of Little Acorns, I hear as this, as the learned White Stripes guy, I hear a song that is probably 10 or 15 minutes old, and you're hearing the first crack at them performing it. So I give them a pass at that. But
you think Meg is trying to play in time and is failing? That's your read of this.
100%.
Okay, well then that's fucked up. That makes me more angry. That really makes me more angry. What?
Well,
okay, then she does suck. Because that was the whole thing for the longest time. You weren't allowed to say Meg sucked. Oh, it's all on purpose. Oh, she's playing simple on purpose. Oh, she's as important to the White Stripes as Jack is. Nope, she sucks. If she can't play along to that in time, it's one fucking guy. It's one guy playing guitar. Oh my God, that's crazy, dude.
What if you had only heard that riff? What if the guy starts playing that song in front of you and you don't know where it goes? You don't know how many verses or choruses. Like you're essentially listening to a jam. Like, hey, I've got an idea. Let's jam on this riff.
I mean, I guess, but that's crazy to me. That then they go, okay, yeah, good enough. Let's put it on the album. So I guess in some ways it is sloppy on purpose because Jack knows that Meg is not going to be able to keep up with this crazy skronky thing he's doing. But then he's like, yeah, good enough. That's good enough, and that goes on the record. That's so annoying. Do you not find that annoying?
You know what? If I was in your shoes and I'm 35,000 feet above the White Stripes, I would kind of be like, why did they like do it again? Like make it better. Like, don't you wanna? And it would be off-putting if I'm going like, okay, so if you're not, one side of my brain goes, if you're not giving it your all and you're not doing your best, why do you expect people to resonate with it? And which is like a lot of things in life with an assignment or a project or a gig or whatever. But then like on the artistic side, when you're like, well, they captured something special. There's a couple of parts where Meg misses a downbeat on a part of a riff. That's kind of annoying. But until I'm really putting it under a microscope, I don't really notice it. If I'm in a sweaty punk show and I am feeling everything I want to feel, like I don't care if they're not hitting it. I don't care if it's a little sloppy. Right. Like it'll get there. Like sure, I can get annoyed that it's not I can get annoyed that it's not perfect on the record, but like I can't approach art like that.
Sure.
I can get
I mean,
annoyed by it, but
I
like,
would say live is different. Like, I agree
yeah,
with you. When I'm at a live show, I don't need the music to be played perfectly. I mean, I guess I've seen it both ways. Like, I've seen bands that just stand there and they don't move at all, but they're insanely tight. And so that in itself makes the show entertaining because you're like,
sure,
this is as tight as a band could play. Then I've also seen shows that are sloppy as fuck, but the band members are going wild, and you're like, yeah, this is exactly the headspace I'm in, and I'm into it. I guess maybe if I wasn't a drummer, it would piss me off less. But I do know people who are drummers that like the White Stripes, of course. I mean, it's not like every drummer hates them or something. But I guess just for me, it's off-putting. It takes me out of the music because
sure,
I don't I don't get the appeal of that. It annoys me. It's like it annoyed me when Rock Band came out with drums, right?
okay,
Because if you are a real drummer, like obviously if you're not a drummer, the hardest thing to do is the kick pedal, right? Like
mm-hmm.
I think most people after you play around on a kit for a little bit, you can get some level of drumsticks chop 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 kind of thing. But the
I
kick
love where
pedal
this is already gonna go.
the kick pedal is the hardest part to nail. So of
Totally,
course, and in credit to Rock Band, they simplify the kick pedal. Even on the hardest levels, even on expert, they skip bass drum notes. But if you are a drummer and you know the actual song, you're like, "Oh, I'm trying to play it for real and the game's not letting me play it for real." And it
yeah,
feels like a similar annoyance to me where I'm like, well, why don't you just do it for real? What, like,
yeah,
and again, I get that is like an appeal of the White Stripes to people. And as you said, it's a feeling, it's a vibe for you. And I totally understand that. I just feel like to me, it's gimmicky in a way. And I could never, with the White Stripes, I could never get past the gimmick. I think they have
sure.
some great songs, but I found it very hard to get past the gimmick. And if the gimmick on this song is this was basically one take and Meg was trying her best, that is a gimmick that annoys me.
Well, I mean, based on our conversation, I would say the gimmick is that Jack was, out of thin air comes up with this. He's got this, or it's not thin air, but he's got this piano riff that is accidentally recorded over this like strange ass Mort Krim monologue,
Sure.
and they create a song around it. And like the gimmick is, art came out of absolutely nowhere, and they created for the most part a pretty damn good song through it. But like, yeah, if you're looking at, I need these beats to hit on the riff. Like, I mean, I haven't listened intently to know how in time Jack White is playing. He could be just as at fault for, they're coming up with this on the fly. He's feeling it. He's speeding up. Meg's trying to keep up. Like, I almost want, after this very fair and reasonable debate.
No, I think your listeners are going to think that I'm not being fair or reasonable at all. I can't wait for the hate mail I'm going to get after this, but
can't be as much as Brian.
People didn't like Brian on the show.
He thought Jack White was a dumb guy.
I think Jack White is savvy, but I think he's savvy, but I don't know if I would say he's smart. But I don't know enough. I honestly don't know enough to say whether Jack White is a dumb guy or not. But I think okay. It's hard to say. It's hard to know. I don't know enough. I don't know enough.
Sure. Let me ask you this, because you're talking about a thing about a piece of art that annoys you.
Sure.
Who painted the picture over your shoulder?
Oh, my wife.
If she painted that and there was an outline, a stroke of paint that was not in as perfect place as it would be, would that take away from the painting?
Not necessarily. Like, again, I don't think, like, so we're just talking about this one song. Like, I don't think that what I'm saying right now is an absolute across all songs or art. Like, I'm not saying that to me, art is about perfection. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. I am saying in this particular song, the way that they have approached the songwriting process has annoyed me. Now,
I like that.
That doesn't mean that I need all of my art to be perfect. And I do think it is definitely because I have some baggage with the White Stripes, because I have always found them annoying. I've always found them like a little bit gimmicky. Like, okay, let me ask you this.
Sure.
And I'm genuinely curious about this. Okay, whatever you think, Jack White, dumb, smart, whatever. I get the sense that people think that Jack White is cool. Do you think Jack White is cool?
Absolutely not.
Oh, you don't? Okay, because I figured as a lifelong fan of his and a guy who has like gone on trips based around Jack White and his music, you would think he is cool, because I think he is very uncool and I find him annoying.
But in terms of like coolness, I'll tell a story on this show that I haven't told yet, but there was an issue of Record Collector magazine that like put all the White Stripes releases out in it. And they also put Jack White's home address in it because it's like, I don't know if he still lived there, but he basically like, there's a couple of singles that have his old family home that he eventually moved into on the cover. And it's like, that's at 1203 Ferdinand Street in Detroit. And so me and my White Stripes friend Chris were like, well, fuck, let's write him a letter. And we wrote Jack White a letter that basically said that he was all old-timey and he hated technology and we loved his music, but we were like kind of poking fun at him. And we asked if he was like at home churning his own butter, because around Elephant, he was on this, like, he had a very specific persona in the public, and he was, kind of looking like Johnny Depp, kind of vampire-y, speaking about old-timey things. And it seemed like he hated like computers and modern technology. And we're like, hey, you churning your own butter over there? Never heard back from him. But in 2007, when he did an interview when he had moved to Nashville and like kind of disassociated with Detroit, and he was kind of bitter, and he was like, and he literally said in this magazine article, like, people think this about me. It's not like I'm at home churning my own butter. And I'm like, did he read that letter? Did he get that letter? Did he know that we made fun of him? Like, so I've always been like, I love like punk bands. I love hair metal. Like, I love Guns N' Roses way more than anybody should. And so like, I have an idea of what a cool musician is. And I've never thought Jack White was that, but I did think that he was an authentic and a real one.
Right.
And that's where that long-winded rant is where, is how I answer your question.
No, I mean, because I would say, like, for me, I find them to have quite a lack of authenticity. Like, I think that goes back to me saying like Jack White is savvy. Like, I think a lot of the decisions they have made, at least from an outside observer who hasn't listened to a ton of their music, admittedly, it feels very calculated to me, and it feels calculated to appear authentic. And you would know way more, and I'm not saying that you're wrong to feel that way. That's just my read of it. Was always like, this is a band that's trying hard to seem like we came from the bluesy streets of Detroit and whatever. And or however they say it, I don't know, but like, we were born in the bayous of Detroit. Detroit has no bayous, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
absolutely.
And so for me, I always had a problem with them because it seemed fake to me. It seemed like everything, the myth making, the
Sure.
we're brother and sister, actually we're married, actually we're not, who knows what we are, blah blah blah, like and then the dress code and the just that we're a two-piece, blah blah blah. It all actually felt like it lacked authenticity to me. And obviously I'm in the minority. They're one of the most successful bands of their entire era. Obviously people connected with that, and maybe I'm wrong. That's just the way that I always took it in. Was it felt like they were trying too hard to be this like cool, authentic band. And I was just like, I think in my mind, I always felt like the music is unique enough. The fact you're a two-piece is unique enough. Like I don't need you to be this to create this crazy story. I don't need you to have a dress code. I don't need you to play on a boat in Nunavut. Like, I don't need that from you. Just be you, and I would probably like it more. So I think, that's why I've always had a hard time connecting with the White Stripes, I think. And again, like, I also think a lack of authenticity is totally fine if you're upfront about it. I mean, I like lots of bands that are like phony balonies. I mean, it's impossible in the music industry to say like, oh, I can only like a band if I think they're doing it for the right reasons. It's like most bands on some level are doing at least some of their stuff for the wrong reasons. I'm not getting into a fight about that. I just think for whatever reason, I never loved the music, and then the story and the mythos around it took me out of it, I would say.
There's a quote from an article, and Jack recited it in their documentary about their Canadian tour, and he basically said, like, he remembers reading somebody saying the White Stripes are both the realest and fakest band of all time, and he's like, I kind of like that. And looking back, like, they left a lot open to interpretation. It's like the brother and sister thing, or their backstory, or their approach to music. They were like, and they were probably savvy in knowing that they would garner that reaction, but they're like, looking back now, they would ask, like, are you brother and sister? And they'd be like, well, who cares? Like, does it affect the music? Does it affect that? And the answer is like, well, obviously no, but you could really connect those two things and end that. And they just like, well, it doesn't affect the music. It doesn't affect anybody personally. Like, it's not, if that changes your thoughts and your opinions on the music, well, that's on you. And so like that openness of interpretation, clearly took me in one direction and took you in another direction. And I don't know, like I kind of like that even more.
Sure.
And it gives, maybe that's another good reason why I started this podcast, is to share that and to and kind of, okay, well, you can approach it this way, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and it's like I can absolutely see why. But in terms of reading countless things about this band and watching everything I could and kind of studying them, like, I really don't think that they are that, and that's fine. So
Totally. It doesn't mean I'm like, oh God, Ryan, what a rube. Got fooled by these guys. Like, it's not like that. Like I said, you got bamboozled by the Stripes, man.
They saw you coming, brother.
Yeah, like, as I said, I'm very open to the idea that I'm wrong, or that that I'm wrong, or just that like people have perceived it totally differently. Like, obviously, I would say there are some bands or artists where if I think you like them, that would lesser my opinion of you.
Sure.
And White Stripes is certainly not one of those. Like, I totally get it, and I totally get why people are into them. And as I say, like, they have probably 5 songs that I think are good to great.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't argue. Like, Seven Nation Army is so good, the riff has basically become its own song separate from the song. Like, it's impossible to say that that's not one of the most influential songs of this century. So like I'm not, or I guess, did this come out before this century? Anyway, the last 27
03,
years,
yeah.
whatever it is. Okay, 03. So of this century. So like, yeah, I'm not a fool, and I'm not saying that I hate everything about them or anything like that. I just, yeah, it's more just explaining how I got to where I am. And I think there are people who are on my side. There's way more that are on your side. But yeah, I just think it's interesting how different people can perceive the way that an artist presents themselves. And yeah, I mean, I think it's cool, and I think it's good. It's just, yeah, that's my way of explaining for people who go, I hate this guy. Why is he saying that he doesn't like the White Stripes or doesn't like this song? It's just, yeah, that's where I meet the White Stripes is it's just a little too try hardy.
The White Stripes to you are Radiohead to me.
Okay, fair. And I get that. Like, I love Radiohead. And
Yeah,
but
like,
I'm not like obsessed with Radiohead. I think they're
Sure.
good. I think like In Rainbows is unbelievable, and I think the rest of their catalog is good to great, but In
Sure.
Rainbows is like the best. But totally, like when people say like I don't get Radiohead, I 100% get that as well. And another band that is also very try hardy. Insert, like, if you don't like them, like if you find
Yeah.
what they're doing, if you find what they're doing to be disingenuous, then they would absolutely come across as super try hardy, and I like 100% get that as well.
I yeah, I completely understand their impact and on music since OK Computer came out, and like I understand everything that their lasting impact and everything that they have done and everything contributed and their approach to music, and I completely understand why people like it. And I'm like, I do not want to listen to it.
Fair.
It is
Fair.
it is salt and vinegar chips. I completely identify that it is probably the best all around flavor of chip. At my palate, I can't stand it. But I'm not going to
Fair.
be like, it's a shitty chip.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
mustard too. I hate mustard and sour cream and onion. Or sorry, salt and
now
vinegar
don't
chips,
bring
and I go,
mustard in. Don't bring mustard into this, Ryan, please.
I hate it. I hate
that's
mustard.
That's crazy. That is
But
so
it's
crazy.
But it's for my palate hates mustard. But
Yeah,
there is
totally.
500 types of mustard, and there's one type of ketchup. That goes to show the versatility of mustard and how much people appreciate it, and how many countless recipes mustard goes into.
Yeah, for sure, because it's a great condiment.
It's all about mustard.
Someone say the goated. Someone say the goated condiment. But yes, no, totally. I mean, I think that's also true, right? Like, I think
would say it is.
especially in this era, right? Because all of this is also happening around the time. This is a little before it, but it's all happening like around the time of the New York indie boom, and basically, like, and it's also, of course, during the ascent of Pitchfork and them as being essentially indie music's greatest tastemaker. And so with that comes like all of these bands are creating a myth there, and it that didn't necessarily have to happen in the 90s and before the internet. It was just like, this song gets played on the radio all the time and I like it, so I'm going to buy the album. Yep. You didn't need to know anything about the band, and in some cases the label probably actively prevented you from knowing anything about the band. But this was an era of the internet and of Pitchfork, and people wanted to know everything about bands they could, and so then these bands end up creating this mythos. And and I think it's true across the board, some people would connect with the mythos of a band and they would go, yep, that is cool to me,
Totally.
or that is interesting to me, and that adds to the music for me. And then in some cases that mythos sort of wrecked the band for people. And I don't know if the White Stripes whole deal like wrecked them for me, but it definitely didn't help. And I think it's just an interesting era of music where it felt like everybody had to have a backstory, and that did contribute to whether or not you like the music. In some cases, it was very hard to come to music objectively, I would say.
Yep. And I've never been the biggest fan of the mythos that they created. in doing this podcast, I'm kind of rediscovering, I'm revisiting all these things that I originally read or experienced as a child, as a
Yeah, totally,
15
right?
to
That makes a
a
huge
s-
difference. Yeah.
and as a kid, I was like, can't you just be like? At times, I just wanted the band to be like kind of normal, and like hearing Jack White talk about going to get drunk at uh, at the Strokes gig or playing New York City Cops with them. I'm like, just you can do that a bit more. But I remember reading that article I was telling you about from '07, where they kind of, they outgrew Detroit and they had some fallings out. And Jack is kind of not bitter, but like, I'm gonna say bitter about like his perception, or the public's perception of him in the media, of this like kooky kind of weirdo. And I remember reading that a few months ago. I'm like, bro, I read every interview you guys did. Like, you created that perception. Like, this is
Yeah,
pre-social
exactly.
media. And like, and I'm kind of like torn. Like, I favorite artist, but like, come on, buddy. Like, you
Yeah.
you did
What
this
do you
to
guys think? I'm
yourself.
churning butter? It's like, look, man, we saw you walk into your house with a barrel of cream under each arm. What did we was supposed to think you were doing with it in there?
Like,
It is funny, like, because I think of Brian actually on the
yeah,
P.O.D. cast, like he talks about like he first got into Korn because he saw a photo of them and he was like,
yeah.
these are the coolest looking guys on the planet. And like Korn is full of dumb idiot guys. They're all guys from like small town shitty California. They're all idiots. But they looked cool as fuck. And like back in the day, that's all it took. You just saw
All it
bands.
takes,
I mean,
brother.
Guns N' Roses also, like, what a great example of that too. You see a poster of
Coolest
Guns N'
looking
Roses, you're like,
band.
yeah, these guys are the coolest looking guys in the world. And sometimes that's all it took. And then, it gets to the internet era, and that how you look sort of, I mean, it matters, but it's really like you had to talk, you had to
Yeah.
say stuff, you had to have this backstory. And yeah, you're right. There was a lot of bands, not just the White Stripes, who would create their own mythos and then get mad when people pushed back on it. And it's like, well, you're the one who said this. I wouldn't have ever thought this about you, but you said it 3 years ago and now you're mad at me? What do you mean? Like,
We're trying to, we like you. We're all just
we
trying
like
to,
you. Let
we're
me
on the
like
same
you.
ride.
Let me like you, please.
My let me like you guy was Nikki Sixx, and
Sure,
I
yeah.
went like, I read The Dirt and the Heroin Diaries, and I'm like, the music that wasn't associated with Motley Crue isn't very good, but and it kind of gives this level of authenticity. And now I'm at a point where like, I think Nikki Sixx is the dumbest, lamest guy in the world, and like, he is awful. And I remember when the turning point was, he was criticizing Macklemore on Saturday Night Live, and he's like, this guy sucks, who is he, why is he on the show? And I'm like, you two bastards are like both like mistreated kind of rebel musicians from the same city, and you're shitting on them. Like, you've like completely lost the plot. And like, ever since then, I'm like, oh, this guy is awful. And he posted a video of himself trying to play an acoustic guitar that I think is the funniest video I've ever seen. And I've shown it to everyone I possibly can think of, and like put it on my stories. I'm like, this is the funniest thing I'll see all 2025 is Nikki Sixx, fucking 60 something years old, horribly playing an acoustic guitar.
I love it. I love it. It's great.
You talked about the tastemakers. Pitchfork gave Elephant a review of a 6.9,
which is sort of shocking, actually. Like, I would imagine in like later era White Stripes, they got way higher scores than that.
They got Pitchfork loved Get Behind Me, Satan, which is 05, the one after this, and they they creamed their jeans reviewing White Blood Cells, the album with Fell in Love with a Girl on it. Yeah. But for some reason, they did not like Elephant. They thought
White Blood Cells was before this, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So then that makes a lot of sense. That's a classic Pitchfork move as well. They loved to pump up the debut album, then
Yeah.
the band gets popular, and then they're like, oh, well, we can't like what's popular, even though we made it popular. And their second album, they would drag it down to hell. Okay, so that makes way
John,
more sense.
I love that you brought this up because the White Stripes' first major label release was White Blood Cells. They loved it. Then the record label re-released their first 2 albums, which were just off Sympathy for the Record Industry label, and they gave juiced up ratings for the old, the indie records. But then the second mainstream album comes out, which is probably their best, top to bottom, their best album.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of White Stripes fans would say that.
Yeah. And they basically wrote this tongue-in-cheek review about how it was fast food blues, and so it's a good one. I'll read a quick little excerpt here. The album title refers to the endangered animal's brute power and less honored instinctual memory for dead relatives. Essentially, the White Stripes admit to the contradictions in their music, but run through their Hall of Fame like mad pachyderm. In a climate of kitchen-tinkered designer cuisine pop, the album offers buckets of batter-fried guitar crunch. On tracks like Black Math and Little Acorns, the grease and grunge of cheap guitar ingredients cover slim pickings from the songwriting chicken.
Oof, that's nasty pair of sentences.
And we're both
I mean, from a writing perspective, not from they burned the White Stripes. I mean, those are 2 horribly written sentences.
Yeah, a little. They could.
And I'm a published author. I can say that now.
And speaking of published authors, you and I are both straight white millennial males. So my ears and eyes perked up when I saw that Chuck Klosterman reviewed them in Spin magazine.
Classic straight white guy, Chuck Klosterman. Yeah, I've read most of his books.
I've got a few on my white guy shelf over there. I'm looking at one right now.
Yeah.
But the deeper enchantment of Elephant erupts from its operatic totality, and from the very notion that Jack sings a song, Little Acorns, in which he tells a woman that her problems can be solved if she cuts the curls out of her hair. I have no idea what that is supposed to mean. This is not garage rock. This is art rock. And that is a compliment. John, in 2003, would be calling a garage rock band or a rock band art rock be an insult?
I don't know. I mean, I guess we're not quite at the sort of like chamber pop that became what everybody called art rock, like Grizzly Bear and Dirty Projectors and stuff. Like, this is pre that era. So I think I think in this case, he is not trying to insult them. I mean, he gave the album an A, he says that's a compliment. So I guess to me, the way I read it is he's essentially just saying like, this is art. He's not, I don't think he's trying to say this is some other genre that like doesn't make sense. I think what he's trying to do there is he's basically trying to tell people that like, if you think of White Stripes as just like garage rock and you don't think you would like that, you should listen to this because it's different, it's elevated. That's the way I'm reading it. I'm not reading it as an insult.
Finally, in the live performance history of Little Acorns, one would say the White Stripes' bread and butter was their live performances, and added to that mystique and that mythos. This song was only performed twice live in concert. It was played once in October in Adelaide, Australia, and later that month in Osaka, Japan. I could only find one live recording of it. That was basically somebody probably in the crowd with their mini disc recorder. But did you listen to the live version?
I did not listen to the live version. No.
It sounded a little similar. I was shocked to hear that people knew all the words. Like, there was a loud sing-along for it. So I thought maybe this was an under-the-radar song that could have had a bit more of a life live. John, that was Little Acorns. We just spent an hour talking about the song and the band themselves. Um, what's going to go through your mind? What are you going to think about the next time when you listen to the White Stripes?
Oh, that's a good question. Hard to say when the next time I listen to the White Stripes will be. I've almost never listened to them on purpose. That's a good question. I mean, I guess maybe my mind will be a little more open to to soaking it in. Maybe I'll be a little less annoyed. I think it's, anytime you have a chance to talk for an hour about something, I think you're automatically going to feel a little closer to it. So yeah, I guess that's how I would feel. I mean, nothing about this song changed my mind. Like, I wouldn't say that, because, sometimes that happens too, where, you grow up and there's a band a bunch of people like, and you kind of only hear one or two songs by them, and you go, I don't really like either of those songs. You never seek them out. Then you hear some album deep cut, and then you're like, wait a minute, did I miss something here? Are these guys actually really good? And this song did not change my perception of the White Stripes, as far as, like, I'm not like, oh damn, maybe I should go listen to Elephant. Like, maybe I fucked up.
Yeah.
But I thought it was competent. I didn't hate listening to it, that's for sure. But I feel that way about most White Stripes stuff. I never hated them. They were never a band I was like, I hate these guys. It never fully connected with me. So yeah, I would say maybe slightly more open mind. But this song overall did not change my opinion of the band as far as becoming a band I might like.
Based on everything that we talked about and you learned about the song and the kind of spontaneity of how it was created, I'm going to steal a segment from one of your very good podcasts, the P.O.D. Kast. That's Kast with a K, a podcast about nu metal. What would your tweet defense be for the song nice. Little Acorns?
So for those of you who don't listen to P.O.D. Cast, this is our rating system. Instead of just giving it like a score out of 10 or whatever, we say, like, if someone were to tweet at you and say that this album or this song sucks, like, how many tweets would you do in defense of it? And this is that's tough, man. It's probably one. It's probably one. I would do one tweet defending it, just saying, like, well, the riff is pretty cool, kind of like the Mort Krim part. It's interesting. And yeah, but then after that, I would have a hard time finding things to defend about it, I would say. Unless they say that Jack White's voice is bad, because that was maybe the most shocking piece of information I got from doing this entire pod with you. I was always of the mind, I thought people all sort of universally thought he was a great rock vocalist. I didn't realize that there was a subset of people who think he's a bad singer. And I think that's a crazy take. And I don't even like the band, but I think he's an excellent rock singer.
I think he's an excellent singer. I think he sounds incredibly unique. Like, I don't want to always go back to Guns N' Roses, but like nobody sounds like Axl Rose, and I don't think anybody sounds like Jack White, and he stands out. He stands out with his singing voice. John, I absolutely love this conversation, and I want you to let all the curling fans that listen to this show why they should buy Curling Rocks ! On October 14th.
Well, it's a book that's it's designed to be enjoyed even if you don't like curling. So I think that's, don't get me wrong. Obviously, if you're familiar with curling, you are probably going to get a little bit more out of it than a non-curling fan would. But I do think that as a non-curling fan, I tried to make it funny. I tried to make it accessible. If you listen to Broomgate, which was a podcast I did that had some success, that was kind of what we did with that too. It was sort of geared towards a non-curling audience. I think that's kind of what I was going for with the book as well. And barring that, makes a great Christmas gift for your in-law that you can never decide what to buy for them. Chances are decent they like curling, and they'll be thrilled to have that book under the tree at Christmas time. So yeah, that's what I would say. It's I tried to make it like the first curling book that's not just for curling fans.
I like that. And that's for a sport that I don't want to say it's not accessible, but that I think if more people gave it a chance, would probably enjoy it a hell of a lot more. I like that. You have your approach. You have an accessible approach to the sport and the culture. So we know you're for the curling fan listeners, we've got that. For the new metal fan listeners, we've got the P.O.D. Kast. That's Kast with a K. Now, what about our listeners that like the TV show Jeopardy?
Yeah, I do have a podcast about Jeopardy as well. Yeah, sort of an eclectic guy over here. People probably find me annoying. I'm like, Jack White seems sort of annoying, and I'm like, yeah, I got a book about curling, a podcast about new metal, and a podcast about Jeopardy.
Yeah.
But yes, it is called What is a Jeopardy Podcast. It is the only comedy podcast about Jeopardy. We are a weekly recap show. It's myself and Emily Heller, who you may know, a very funny comedian, also a well-known TV writer. She's written on shows like Barry and Search Party, and most recently The Great North. Yeah, we are both huge Jeopardy fans, and so just every week we recap a Jeopardy episode, or a week of Jeopardy episodes. And it's a lot of fun. And again, it is also a show that people say they don't even watch Jeopardy, but they like the show because we include clips from the show. So like, even if you didn't see it, you can kind of get a sense of it. And I think people just like the chemistry that Emily and I have, which is mostly that she makes fun of me the entire time. So
my kind of show.
Exactly.
John, I want to give you some praise before we get out of here.
Oh, geez.
No, you mentioned that you're an eclectic guy. You've leaned into your passions and your interests, and I think with the launch of the Jeopardy podcast and kind of changing your approach to podcasting, or the kind of the shows you're doing with Block Party, you're kind of seeing, I think we've done what we can do. Let's change change the scope of what we're doing for it. There was a moment, I think last year, where I'm like, John is a successful guy, a successful friend of mine that is getting successful by leaning into the things that he is passionate about. And that really resonated with me and kind of changed my approach. So working with Wrestling Brain or starting this podcast, like, you were an influential voice and figure, and I wanted to tell you that I looked at what you were doing. I'm like, fuck, that's the move. Like, get niche as hell. Do it, if you do a creative project on something you're really passionate about, or that it gets you excited or fires you up, like, it's going to resonate with it. It's going to resonate through what you do. And that really inspired me. And also, the only podcast about Jeopardy, I said, well, shit, there's no fucking podcast about the White Stripes. I got to jump on this.
Go. Well, that's very sweet of you to say. Thank you very much. That means a lot to know that I had any influence on anybody that was positive. So that's nice. But people are excited about passion for things. They want their creators to be passionate about the things they're doing. And yeah, clearly you have a passion for this, and it seems like it's going really well. So I'm super happy for you. And yeah, it's always fun to, I find I get the most inspired when I'm doing new things. And some people just don't see that, because it is hard to give up on what they know. But yeah, I think that is where a lot of great things happen for people, even just personally, even just your mood, even just the way you act on a day-to-day basis. When you have things you're looking forward to and you're excited about, I think it makes a huge difference. So I'm happy for you, man. I'm stoked that this pod is going well. I thank you for having me as a guest, even though I'm not a White Stripes fan. And may we all find the projects we love in our lives, I'd say.
Okay, that was John Cullen. I'm Ryan Schaap. Ryan and John duking it out civilly. You might not like that episode. I really did. Not every episode is going to be us talking about how amazing everything the White Stripes did or how great Jack White is. They're no question. That is my favorite band of all time and probably my favorite artist. But nobody's batting 1,000, especially not in the postseason, especially not any of those Detroit Tigers. But what I need you to do is help spread the word of this show, help grow this footprint, so every time we have a call to action on this show, that streaming data gets a little bit bigger. I tell you, we'll know we've done it when we pop a number for Slicker Drifts. And then that's when they'll come calling. The Hardest Podcast to Podcast is hosted and produced by Ryan Schaap. Artwork by Catlin Likely. Amanda Schultz is our assistant editorial producer, who is still editing immediately to my left. And Mike Noble is our gator.